Wrong compliment, right chaos. Max sat in the corner of the cold metal cell, rubbing his jaw and staring at the alien bars in front of him. Note to self, he muttered. Never compliment an alien warrior's butt, no matter how majestic it looks. The cell was small, barely enough for him to stretch his legs. Strange lights blinked in the corners. He could hear the deep hum of the ship around him, smooth, powerful, and not Earth-made. He was in trouble. Big, cosmic-level trouble. It had all started just a few hours ago. Max, a human diplomat in training, or so he called himself, had been sent to the alien warship Zarquanak as part of a peace talk. His job? Smile, shake, hands, tentacles, and not cause an intergalactic war. He was doing fine, until she walked in. Tall, armored, and glowing with some sort of war paint, the alien warrior had entered the room like thunder wrapped in muscle. Her name was Commander Vetra of the Kailari Empire. Sharp eyes, sharper sword, and a body carved from cosmic granite. Max, being Max, had opened his mouth before engaging his brain. "Excuse me," he said with a smirk, "but your, glutes are quite symmetrical." Everyone in the room froze. Commander Vetra stared at him. Max gave a thumbs up. She blinked, then smack. 1 second Max was standing. The next he was flying across the shiny floor like a rag doll in zero gravity. Back in the cell, Max groaned and leaned his head against the cold wall. "Smooth move, Romeo," he said to himself. "First contact and I go full flirt mode." Suddenly the door hissed open. Max jumped up, half expecting angry guards with laser spears. But it was her, Commander Vetra. She stepped into the room, her face calm but her eyes glowing with something. Not anger. Something else. Was it worry? She looked at him for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She pressed a button on the wall and Max's shackles clicked open. "Walk with me," she said, voice low and serious. Max blinked. Okay, are you gonna slap me again?" "Only if you speak," she replied. He wisely shut his mouth. They walked through long, glowing corridors. The ship looked alive, wires pulsing like veins, doors that opened with a hiss that sounded almost like a sigh. Max had never seen anything like it. They stopped inside a private chamber. It was filled with holograms, maps, and weapons. Vetra turned to him, pulled off her armor's collar, and leaned in close. Max didn't know whether to flirt again or run. Then he saw it, a glowing device implanted in her neck. It was pulsing red. "Do you know what this is?" she asked. Max shook his head. "Fancy alien Wi-Fi?" She didn't smile. "It's a control device. The Empire put it in me. I am not free." Max's mouth dropped. "Wait, what?" "I've broken orders by not killing you," she continued. "They think I have, but I need your help." "My help? I just got slapped into orbit." "You're human. You're different," she said, narrowing her eyes. "The Empire found something. An ancient device from a long-dead species. It only reacts to human DNA." "Let me guess," Max said. "You need a human to activate it." She nodded. "And right now, you're the only one we've got." Max blinked. "Wow, that's terrifying, but kinda cool." She stepped back. "We leave in 1 hour. If we're caught, we die." "All right," Max said, straightening his jacket. "But for the record, I wasn't trying to flirt with you earlier. I just appreciate good posture." She gave him a long look, and then the tiniest smirk. "Speak again," she warned, "and I'll throw you out the airlock." Noted. As the camera zooms out, we see the massive alien ship floating in deep space. Unseen by both of them, another ship, silent, sleek, and deadly, follows from the shadows. Back in the private chamber, Vetra loads weapons. Max picks up a strange alien gun, then fumbles and drops it on his foot. He yells. She sighs. "You're going to get us both killed." "I do my best," Max says with a wink. Secret missions and gluteal diplomacy. The ship's hangar bay was dim, silent, and smelled like burning ozone and metal sweat. Max stood behind a stack of crates, peeking around them as Commander Vetra disabled security systems with fingers that moved like lightning. So, we're stealing a ship? Max whispered. Vetra didn't answer. She held up a clawed hand, signaling him to shut up. Max responded with 2 enthusiastic thumbs up, and then immediately tripped over a hose and nearly face-planted into the deck. She caught him. Again. That, she muttered, was not stealth. I'm a work in progress, Max whispered. Like a space muffin that isn't fully baked. Vetra rolled her eyes. For a feared warrior, she was surprisingly patient. Or maybe she was just tired of slapping him. She led him to a small but sleek scout vessel. It was shaped like a stingray with attitude. Inside, everything looked alien and alive. Smooth surfaces, glowing symbols, no buttons, no screens. How do you fly this thing? Max asked. It flies you, she replied, placing her hand on a shimmering control pad. The ship hummed, lights flickered, and the walls seemed to breathe. As they lifted off, alarms started wailing across the warship behind them. Someone noticed, Max said, gripping the wall. No, Vetra replied. Someone let us go. Max looked at her. What do you mean? She didn't answer. Instead, she activated a cloaking field. The stars around them shimmered and the warship vanished from view. And just like that, Max was officially a fugitive in space, with a tall alien lady, and absolutely no plan. Somewhere between planets, Max sat in the co-pilot chair, flipping a glowing orb in his hand like a stress ball. So, he said, this ancient device we're going after, what is it exactly? Classified, Vetra said. Max raised an eyebrow. Everything's classified with you. Your species doesn't even tell people what your bathrooms look like. You're not ready for that information, she replied, flatly. Fair, Max mumbled. There was a long silence. Then, without looking at him, she said, the device is called the Arc Stone. It's old. Very old. From a time before the Kalari Empire. Before most of the known galaxy. Sounds shiny. It is. And dangerous. When we discovered it, it reacted only to one thing. Human DNA. Let me guess, Max said. Your empire wanted to keep it, but you wanted to destroy it. She nodded. They said I was weak, she continued. They put the control implant in my neck to make sure I obeyed. But I've been building this plan for cycles, waiting for the right human to come along. Max blinked. So, you've been stalking Earth for a while now? I've been watching, waiting, studying your kind. And you picked me? She glanced at him. You complimented my butt in the middle of a military summit. No one else would be stupid or bold enough to do that. Max leaned back. That's probably the best job reference I've ever gotten. Training time, aka try not to die. Montage. For the next few days, they stayed in deep space, hidden, while Vetra trained Max. She showed him how to use basic alien weapons, like the pulse blade that wrapped around his wrist, and a translator chip he had to jam up his nose. Don't sneeze, she warned. She also taught him about Kailari. Customs: never show the back of your neck, never enter a room first, never ever wink. It means you're challenging someone's grandmother to hand-to-hand combat. Max almost winked 5 times. She also ran him through simulations of the Arcstone's possible traps. One almost burned off his eyebrows. Another launched a foam that smelled like wet lizards and never stopped expanding. He failed most of them, but he didn't give up. And that, strangely, impressed Vetra, suspense rising. On the 4th day, while Max was asleep, Vetra stood alone in the cockpit. Her hand touched her implant. A soft voice whispered in her ear. You are off course, Commander. Return. Or you will be erased. She said nothing, but her jaw tightened. Behind her, a small blinking tracker, no larger than a flea, was active on the ship's hull. They were being followed. Arrival at the dead planet. The planet was a dark, rocky sphere hanging in space like a forgotten God's marble. No life, no sunlight, Just broken ruins, craters, and silence. "This is the place?" Max asked, stepping out onto the dusty surface in a borrowed spacesuit. "This is where the Arkstone sleeps," Vetra confirmed, "buried in the Temple of Ash." As they approached the ruins, strange markings began to glow under Max's feet. Vetra looked shocked. "It's reacting," she said. "You haven't even touched it yet." "Maybe it likes me," Max shrugged. "Or maybe it's scanning for butts to compliment." Vetra gave him a look. Max smiled, then stopped smiling. Because the air shifted, the ruins moaned, and then something moved in the shadows. It was fast. Too fast. A blur of motion. A low growl echoed from the broken pillars. Max raised his weapon. "Vetra, we're not alone, are we?" "No," she said slowly, unsheathing her blade. "And whatever it is, it's not from my empire." The camera pulls back. Deep inside the ruined temple, hidden behind glowing walls, the Arkstone pulses once. A heartbeat of light. Suddenly, a massive clawed hand touches its surface. And then, a deep voice, ancient, broken, and terrifying, and whispers, "The human has come. Let the cycle begin again." Bounty hunters and bad hair days. The Temple of Ash was supposed to be empty, abandoned, dead. It wasn't. Max and Vetra stood back to back, in a crumbling chamber surrounded by tall, jagged statues and glowing alien glyphs that pulsed like angry veins. Max was gripping an alien blaster upside down again, and Vetra had her sword out, humming with electric energy. From the shadows, something growled, low, guttural, and hungry. Max whispered, "Okay, real talk. On a scale of 1 to, we're going to die horribly. Where are we right now?" 17. Vetra muttered. Cool. Love that for us." Then, the shadow attacked. The thing in the temple, it wasn't just one creature, it was a pack. Thin, bone-colored beasts with 6 limbs, razor teeth, and no eyes. They moved like smoke and screeched like broken radios. "Guardians," Vetra said, slashing one clean, in half. "Temple protectors." Max zapped one accidentally, hit the ceiling instead. But the rubble crushed 2 more. "I meant to do that," he yelled. They fought their way through, Max clumsily saving Vetra at least twice and tripping 4 times. The beast seemed endless. Then, something happened. Max tripped, again, and his hand slapped the stone wall, right on top of a glowing glyph. Suddenly all the creatures froze. Then, they bowed. To Max. Did I just become their god?" Max asked nervously. Vetra stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "You activated the arc mark." "Cool. Is that a good thing?" "Probably not." The beasts vanished into the darkness, silent. Max brushed dust off his jacket. "Man, I should trip more often." Hidden chamber. Behind the glyph-covered wall, a door hissed open. They stepped inside what looked like a control room, but ancient, overgrown with crystal vines and floating debris, like time had broken. Down here, in the center, a pedestal, on it, the Arkstone. It pulsed with white blue light and strange whispering voices. Max stepped closer. "Is it talking?" "Not to us," Vetra said. "It's calling something." Just then, Max touched the pedestal. Flash. His mind exploded with visions. A war, humans and aliens fighting together. Then betrayal, a powerful species locked. The Arkstone away. Max saw a symbol, a circle within a triangle, and a human face. His own? No. Someone who looked just like him. He dropped to his knees, panting. "What was that?" Before Vetra could answer, boom. The ceiling above them blew open. Bounty time descending through the smoke came 3 figures. A giant reptilian alien with metal arms and bad attitude. A floating jellyfish with glowing eyes and a voice, like a snarky elevator. A masked humanoid in dark armor, silent. Too silent. Target located, the jellyfish said. Human is worth 7 million credits alive, or 3.5 million if missing limbs. Max raised his hand. Hi. Quick question. Can we skip to the part where I bribe you with tacos? The reptilian roared and charged. What followed was chaos. Max, dodging and screaming while Vetra went full warrior mode, slicing and flipping like an action movie on caffeine. Max managed to take down the jellyfish, accidentally, by throwing the Arkstone's pedestal base at it. It made a splat sound he would never forget. The reptile was about to crush him when Max panicked, hit his pulse blade. Backward. It exploded in his own face, but the blast knocked the bounty hunter out. Vetra faced off with the armored figure, fast, skilled, silent. Every move Vetra made was countered perfectly. She knocked off their helmet. It was a human. But not just any human. A clone of Max. What the? Max said, stumbling over. Is that me? Why is there a murder version of me? The clone stared blankly, then disappeared in a shimmer of light. Projection, Vetra said. Someone's playing games. Someone who knows my face, Max replied, rubbing his head, and making it hotter somehow. Is that legal? Escape, and almost implosion. The temple began to shake. The Arkstone, now glowing brighter, was triggering a collapse. Touching the ancient tech was a bad idea, Max yelled, running after Vetra. You always touch things, she yelled back. Curiosity is part of the human experience. They barely made it out, the temple exploding behind them as they leapt into their ship. Max was hit by a small piece of glowing debris. He didn't notice right away, but the ship did. It beeped. Loudly. Why is the ship beeping like it's afraid of me? Max asked. Vetra turned, eyes wide. That shard, it bonded to you. You're carrying a piece of the Arkstone now. Max looked at his arm. The skin there shimmered faintly, like a constellation. Great. I'm turning into a space lava lamp. This isn't a joke, Vetra said. The Empire will come for you now, everyone will. Why? Because now, you're not just the key, she said, voice tense. You are the Arkstone. Suspicious signal later, while Max was sleeping with one eye open and his arm glowing softly, Vetra sat in the cockpit again. A signal came through. Audio only. A deep, gravelly voice. You are not the only one protecting him. We are watching. The clone was only the beginning. He must survive, and or the galaxy dies. Vetra didn't respond. She just clenched her fists and stared out into the stars. Cliffhanger ending. In a secret facility somewhere far across the galaxy, figures stood around a table. On the screen in front of them, Max's face. One of the figures, cloaked, in white and gold and pointed at the screen. Activate Protocol Echo. The Arkstone has awakened. Another nodded. Send in the Watchers. And somewhere, far, far away, another Max opened his eyes. Planet of the Lost Tech. Max was glowing, not in a new skincare routine way, in a literal, I might explode or turn into a god kind of way, sat on the floor of the ship's common area, staring at the shimmering constellation patterns crawling across his right arm. They moved. They pulsed. They whispered. He didn't know what they were saying yet, but he felt it. Something ancient was waking up inside him. Hey Vetra, he called. What happens if I sneeze too hard with this space tattoo on my arm? Vetra didn't answer. She stood behind him, tense, watching, because something had changed in Max, and it scared even her. Destination, Zarnus, Forbidden Tech. Graveyard. Their stolen scout ship cruised into orbit around a forbidden world. Zarnus, not on any official map, surrounded by a debris field of broken satellites, space mines, and half-destroyed ships. It was like someone took a whole alien fleet and just shattered it around the planet. Okay. Who broke space around this planet? Max asked. Zarnus is a memory graveyard, Vetra said. It's where ancient tech comes to rot. You people have a planet for garbage? Earth has one too. It's called Earth. Ouch. They navigated through the wreckage using stealth mode, landing in a deep canyon. The air was thick, heavy, full of static. The planet didn't just feel abandoned, it felt angry. The vault of echoes deep underground, hidden beneath a crust of black glass, they found it. The vault of echoes. Doors carved from obsidian. Symbols everywhere, all glowing the same color as Max's arm. As he touched the door, it slid open, like it had been waiting for him. Inside were machines, rows of them. Ancient, massive, half-organic. Some were still running. Floating above a central platform was a hologram. A human figure. Tall, old, familiar. It looked like Max. "Hello, Echo," it said. "You've come far, but time is running out." Max blinked. "Okay, either I'm hallucinating or I just met my weird space grandpa." Vetra stepped forward. "This confirms it. You're not just some random human, you're part of the Echo lineage." "The what now?" Max asked. "Long ago, a group of human explorers bonded with alien AI. They became more than human. They became keys. Only they could access the ancient tech left behind." Max crossed his arms. "Let me guess, the Empire found out and wiped them out?" Vetra nodded. "Except one. The last Echo disappeared." Max glanced at the hologram. It was looking right at him. "Now it's you." Surprise attack. Betrayal from within. Just as the vault began uploading information into Max's glowing brain, he now spoke fluent galactic binary somehow. An explosion shook the chamber. Boom! The ceiling cracked. Stone fell, and in dropped Kailari. Rebels, led by a familiar face. Thorn, Vetra's old comrade. A rebel captain who had gone missing 6 months ago. "Vetra," he said, stepping out of the smoke. "Still protecting lost puppies, I see." "Thorn," Vetra said, sword half-drawn. "What are you doing here?" "Finishing the job you were too soft to complete," he growled. "The human has the Arkstone's power now. That makes him a threat, and threats must be eliminated." Max raised his hand. "Hey, I'm not a threat. I can barely tie my boots without falling over, see?" He tried. He tripped. Again. No one laughed. Thorn raised his weapon. "Goodbye, Echo." But before he could fire, the vault reacted. A blast of blue light shot from the floor and blocking the bullet midair. Max's eyes glowed. "I said," he whispered. "Not today." Boom! A shockwave pulsed out from him, blasting the rebels across the chamber. When it cleared, Max was floating an inch off the ground, eyes still glowing. Vetra stared in silence. "Well, that's new," Max said as he fell back down. "Please, tell me I didn't wet myself." Mandatory space tavern scene, because why not? They escaped. Barely. Their ship limped to the nearest neutral zone, a space station called Sable Hollow, known for its black market tech, shady bounty hunters, and extremely sketchy taverns. Max limped into a neon-lit cantina called The Screaming. Nebula, which smelled like engine grease and alien tequila. "Is this place safe?" Max asked. "No," Vetra replied. "That's what makes it safe." They sat in a dark booth, watching the crowd. Max nursed something glowing purple. Then, a hooded figure approached. "Echo," she said softly. "You need to run." Max blinked. "Wow, straight to the point. Who are you?" The figure pulled down her hood. She was human, but different. Her skin shimmered faintly, like Max's. "I'm Mira. I'm like you," she whispered. "They're cloning us, dozens, hundreds. They're trying to make a perfect Echo they can control." Max's jaw dropped. "So that murder clone of me wasn't the last?" "No," she said. "It was the first." Suddenly, chaos. The bar exploded in smoke. Bounty hunters, clones, watchers, all crashing into the bar at once. Max grabbed Mira's hand. Vetra slammed a chair into someone's face. Tables flipped, drinks flew. One clone screamed in German for some reason. Max hit a button on the wall. The floor opened beneath them, and they fell into a garbage chute. Somewhere far away, in a chamber lined with vats filled with half-grown humans, a figure walked past them all. He stopped at one labeled Project Echo, Alpha Prime. Inside, a fully grown Max. But his eyes were pitch black. The figure smirked. It's almost time. Memories not my own. Thunk. Max hit the bottom of the garbage chute with a less than heroic splat, followed by Vetra, who landed on her feet like a cat. If cats had armored, boots and glowing swords. Mira dropped in last, graceful as ever. Max groaned. Why is it always garbage? Every time something explodes, I end up in trash. It's like the universe is trying to tell me something. Maybe it's symbolic, Mira said, brushing herself off. You're not helping. The tunnel they'd landed in was tight, damp, and glowing faintly green. Max was too tired to ask what was glowing, or why it was moving. Vetra scanned, ahead with her visor. This leads to the old research decks, long abandoned. Of course it does, Max muttered. The creepiest possible option is always the one we pick. The dream that wasn't a dream. That night, while Vetra and Mira kept watch, Max collapsed onto a dusty old med bed and passed out. But instead of sleep, he fell, not physically, but mentally, into a memory that didn't belong to him. Flash. He stood in a vast white chamber. Dozens of scientists, glowing pods. Inside each, humans. All with his face. A woman stood at the center, tall, fierce, with silver hair and human eyes. She looked at Max. You're the closest we've ever gotten, she said. You feel real. Max stepped forward. Who are you? She tilted, her head. I'm your mother, Echo. Or I was, until the last reboot. Flash. Another scene. Max was older, fighting, training, failing, restarting. Over and over, each time erased. Restarted, each time, a little more broken. Max woke up screaming, sweat dripping from his face. Mira and Vetra rushed over. I saw them, Max gasped. Clones, hundreds, scientists, a woman. She said she was my mother? Mira nodded slowly. You're remembering. It's starting. Starting what? The unraveling. Project Echo. Files recovered. They found an old control room in the lab beneath the station. Mira plugged into the system with a weird-looking spike that came out of her wrist. Max tried not to freak out. Holograms flickered to life. Project Echo. Objective. Clone and recreate the original Arkstone host. Implant artificial memories. Achieve total control over Arkstone technology. Dozens of failed attempts. Burned out clones. Broken minds. Then, Subject 47B. Status. Stable. Subject is unpredictable, impulsive, sarcastic, but stable. Unlike the others, he hasn't burned out. He's real. Max leaned back. Wait, Subject 47B, that's me? Mira nodded. You're the only clone that didn't lose your mind or reject the power. That's why they're hunting you. Vetra looked away. I knew there was something strange about your DNA, but I didn't know they made you. I'm not even me, Max asked quietly. I'm a lab project, just programmed memories. No, Mira said firmly. You are you. They may have built the body, but you made the soul. Max looked at her. She wasn't wrong. He still remembered Earth. Tacos, cats. The time he tried to iron his shirt while wearing it. That wasn't programming. That was chaos. That was him. The door with no key. In the deepest part of the lab, they found it. A sealed vault door. Bigger than anything else. Wrapped in chains of light. At the center, the Arkstone symbol. Only one handprint could open it. Max's. Wait, he said, backing away. What if this is a trap? What if what's inside finishes the job? Mira looked at him. Or maybe it tells you who you were, who you're meant to be. He stepped forward. His hand shook. He placed it on the scanner. The door groaned. Open. Inside? Not weapons, not machines. A cradle, a single pod. Inside, another human. Sleeping, another Max. But not like the others. This one looked peaceful, ancient, like he'd been asleep for centuries. Suddenly, the pod's display lit up. Arkstone host, original status, in stasis awake? YN. What the hell does this mean? Max asked. Mira whispered. You're not the first. You're the echo of the original. Then who's that? Max asked. And if he wakes up? What happens to me? Meanwhile, in the shadows in a distant command ship orbiting a black star, a cloaked figure watched a monitor. Max's face glowed on the screen. A voice behind him growled, Shall we terminate the clone? The figure shook his head. No, he said. Let him find the original. Let him ask the questions. When the truth breaks him, he will return to HUD willingly. Why? The other voice asked. Because he was never built to lead, the figure replied. He was built to obey. Max stood in front of the sleeping original. One version of him was in stasis. One was a clone, glowing. With power, one was already hunting him down, and one, somewhere, was pulling all the strings. He turned to Vetra and Mira. We need answers, he said. And I think I know where to find them. Where? Mira asked. Max looked up. Earth. We're going home. Empire strikes. Dumb. Max hadn't been to Earth in years, but as the ship entered orbit and the pale blue planet came into view, his stomach flipped. Not from G-forces, but from something worse. Dread. This is a mistake, Vetra said, arms crossed as she stared out the viewport. Earth isn't safe anymore. It's never been safe, Max muttered. We invented microwave burritos and people willingly eat them. Vetra squinted. That explains a lot. Mira stood behind them, silent, eyes narrowed. I was born here, she said softly. Or so I was told. But nothing about this place feels like home. Max nodded. That's Earth's brand. Welcome to Earth, sponsored by Lies Tim. They landed in an abandoned field outside Nevada, near an old decommissioned military bunker. Mira claimed, it used to be a Project Echo testing facility before it was shut down. Spoiler, it wasn't shut down. As they approached the fence, Max's hand suddenly glowed. The gates opened on their own. Inside, rusted buildings. And underneath, a fully operational underground complex. Still powered, still alive. The group moved through sterile halls with flickering lights and peeling paint. Max felt something tickle, the back of his mind, a whisper. Faint, familiar. You're home, Subject 47B. The lab of broken truths, deep inside, they found a control room. Mira accessed an old terminal, her eyes widened. This wasn't just a clone lab. It was a testing ground. They used humans, real ones. Max stepped forward. Used how? She hit a key. The screen lit up with videos. Earth scientists injecting volunteers with Arkstone. Fragments. Most died. Some mutated. A few went invisible. Max watched in horror as one test subject labeled Echo Prototype A erupted in light and disintegrated an entire lab team. Vetra growled. Your people experimented on themselves in trying to force evolution. And then they covered it up, Mira added. Said the Echo Project was alien. But this? This started here. Max stared at the screen, fists clenched. Who built all this, he asked. The computer answered. Director. Dr. Lyra Vance. Max blinked. My mom. Battle in the diner before they could process that nuclear plot twist, alarms blared. Outside, black dropships surrounded the facility. Vetra drew her sword. Mira cursed in 3 languages. Max stared out the window. Descending from one of the ships dressed in sleek armor glowing like a nightmare was Clone Max Prime. Well, Max sighed. There's my evil twin. Looking like me if I actually remembered leg day. Cut to a diner. Because why fight in a boring hallway when there's a nearby 24-hour alien-themed diner? Max, Vetra, and Mira took cover behind booths as Clone Prime and his elite enforcers stormed in. Plates flew. The jukebox exploded. Somebody screamed, "Not the pancakes!" Max, out of weapons, grabbed 2 experimental utensils from the Echo. "Lab's tech bag, laser spoons." "Are you kidding?" Vetra said. "I'm improvising," Max yelled, parrying a plasma bolt with a spoon that hummed like a lightsaber with stage fright. Mira took down 2 soldiers with stealth darts. Vetra kicked a booth so hard it turned into a projectile. Max confronted Clone Prime near the milkshake bar. "You're me," Max said. "But more murdery." "And you're me," Prime sneered. "But defective." They clashed. Fists, sparks, glowing arms, 2 Maxes battling between ketchup packets and intergalactic destiny. Prime's punches were faster. Max's were weirder. "I fight like a drunken squirrel," Max shouted. "You can't predict that." He landed a hit. Prime slid across the counter into a pie display. But just before Max could finish the fight, Prime vanished in a burst of Arkstone energy. The truth bomb. After the chaos, the team returned to the lab. A new message was waiting on the screen. A secure file from Dr. Lyra Vance. Mira unlocked it with a retinal scan. "If you're watching this, then Max has survived. And if he has, he deserves the truth." Project Echo didn't begin with aliens. It began with fear. Fear that humanity would be left behind. So we accelerated ourselves. Cloning, memory implants, hybridization with alien tech. Max, you were our best result. Not because you were perfect, but because you were imperfect, human, chaotic, unpredictable. That's what made you real. Max sat in stunned silence. "I'm not just a clone," he said slowly. "I'm the reason they had hope." "Which means," Mira added, "you're also the reason they're terrified." The war begins. Just then, the facility shook violently. Not an earthquake, not a bomb, a signal. Across the planet, hidden Arkstone tech activated. All at once, old satellites turned on. Glowing patterns spread across the oceans. Something, or someone, had flipped the final switch. Outside, the sky darkened. Unnaturally thunder, but no clouds. In orbit, an enormous alien vessel decloaked. Not Kalari, not human. Something older. From the ship came a message in every language. "The key has awakened. The balance is broken. The Guardians will return." Max looked up at the sky. "I think I just broke the galaxy." Vetra nodded. "Took you long enough." In the alien ship, inside a dark, glowing chamber, dozens of figures stirred from stasis. Tall, ancient, watching. One of them pointed at a hologram of Max. "He is not ready, but he must choose." "Choose what?" another asked. The figure's eyes glowed. "Which version of himself survives?" Diplomacy, but compliments, and boom. Earth under siege. Earth's sky was glowing, not from the sun, but from 3 alien ships now hovering over the northern hemisphere. Each was miles wide, shaped like a crescent moon dipped in obsidian. From their undersides, massive beams descended, not destroying, but pulling. Cities, ships, memories. Yes, memories. People. Everywhere started freezing mid-step, reliving moments that weren't theirs. Ancient battles, alien births. Star systems exploding. The Guardians had returned, and they weren't attacking Earth. They were absorbing it. Echo Base, final preparations, in the underground base. Max stood alone in a chamber, arms glowing, memories surging through him like tidal waves. He had seen every life he might have lived. One as a peaceful diplomat on Mars. One as a general of an alien rebellion. One where he died young, unknown. "Too many versions," he whispered. "Too many me's." Mira entered. "That's the point. Echoes aren't about one path, they're about all paths colliding." He looked at her. Then how do I know which one I'm supposed to be? You don't, she said. You choose. Vetra entered next, her armor battered but ready. Clone Prime is heading for the Arc Nexus. If he gets there first, he'll rewrite the connection between the Arcstone and reality itself. Max blinked. Wait, he can do that? Yes, Mira replied, and then he can make his version of history permanent. Max sighed. Of course, the final boss fights over the edit button for existence. The final showdown, Arc Nexus. The Arc Nexus was hidden inside Mount Erebus, Antarctica. You know, where all ominous sci-fi things should happen. As the group landed, the mountains split open like a flower made of stone and fire. Inside, alien technology pulsed with ancient memory, like a living heart hooked into the planet's core. At the center, a glowing bridge above a bottomless pit of light. And standing on that bridge, Clone Max Prime. You're late, Prime said, turning slowly. His voice echoed weirdly like it had backup singers in another dimension. Max stepped forward. Had to look good for our date. You know how hard it is to find clean pants during an apocalypse? Prime didn't smile. He raised one hand. Light surged through the Nexus and Max staggered. You were always the weakest, Prime hissed. All jokes, no control, just noise. And you, Max said, slowly rising, were always the most boring version of me. They ran at each other, Max versus Max. Chaos in the core, the fight was brutal. Prime fought with elegance, precision, and raw Arcstone energy. Max fought like a desperate raccoon who'd just been handed a lightsaber and told to guard the universe. He kicked. He screamed. He used unpredictable blasts of light that didn't always hit him instead. At one point he yelled, "Surprise slap!" and actually landed a glowing palm strike on Prime's smug face. Vetra and Mira held off other Guardian hacked, clones on the bridge behind them. Blades clashed. Memories bled from the walls. Time itself began to fracture. Reality blinked. Mountains rose and fell in the background instantly. The final twist. Just when Max had Prime on the edge, sword raised, Vetra yelled, "Stop!" Max froze. "Look!" she shouted. Behind Prime, a flickering form appeared. The original Max. The one from the cradle in the lab. Still weak, still recovering. But awake. He raised a hand. "Don't kill him," he said softly. "He's still part of you." Max stared at Prime. Prime stared back, hatred shaking. "I was made to be perfect," he whispered. "And they still chose you." Max lowered his weapon. "Yeah, well," he said, "maybe being chosen isn't about being perfect. Maybe it's about not being afraid to be stupid sometimes." Prime's body glowed, overloaded. He screamed, but instead of exploding, he knelt and disappeared in a burst of light. A final whisper, "I just wanted to be real." The choice. The Nexus asked Max one final question, in the voice of every version of himself. Do you rewrite history? Do you erase the clones? Do you become the Prime Echo? Or do you leave it broken and let the world stay messy? Max laughed. "Are you kidding? I'm Max. If there's one thing I believe in, it's messy." He touched the core. Light exploded outward. The ships vanished. The Guardian code broke. Earth was safe. For now. Epilogue. Glutes and peace talks weeks later, in a rebuilt Kalari embassy orbiting Mars. Max stood at a podium. "And that's why," he said into the microphone, "I believe that peace isn't just about treaties. It's about butt compliments." Gasps. Max grinned. "Yes, I said it. You know who you are." The alien crowd shifted. One warrior blushed slightly. In the back, Vetra folded her arms and smirked. Mira leaned toward her. "He's an idiot." "Yeah," Vetra said, "but he's our idiot." Max stood alone, watching stars through a viewport. Behind him, a message blinked on a private terminal. "Incoming transmission, unknown origin subject line. Echo Prime Protocol, reboot detected." He narrowed his eyes. "Round 2. Cue music. Cut to black.